Okay, in this video we're going to talk about how to solve rational equations. So these are equations that have these fractions in them. And what we want to do is we want to multiply every term by the LCM of the denominators, okay? The least common multiples of the denominators. So here, first, we need the least common multiple of 5x and 10. Now, 5 and x are prime things. There's nothing that goes into them. But 10 is 2 times 5. Okay, so when we're making our least common multiple, we know we're going to need a 5, okay, and that kind of takes care of this 5 and this 5. We know we're going to need an x, and then we know we're going to need a 2. So we don't need to do the 5 twice just because we have two 5s. We just need the highest power, and so since these are just both 5 to the first, we can take 5 to the first. So our least common multiple here will be 5 times 2, or 10x. So we're going to take our rational equation here, 4/5 plus 1 over x equals 3/10, and we're going to multiply every term by the least common multiple. And remember, this is 10x kind of over 1. So we're going to do 10x over 1 times 10x over 1 times 10x over 1. Okay, now when we multiply these, here we can cancel out a 5. This denominator, 5 goes into 10 2 times. So we're going to have 2 times x times 4. Well, the 2 times 4 will be 8. And we have the x. Plus, here we have 1 times 10x over x times 1. So the x's can cancel out, and we get 10 equals, and on this last one, the 10's cancel out, so we have 3x. Now, you'll notice what we have in green here is just a linear equation, okay? It's something that we can, we've learned how to solve before. So we can subtract 8 from both sides, 8x. And we're going to have 10 equals negative 5x. So we'll divide both sides by negative 5, and we get negative 2 equals x. So our solution is that x equals negative 2. Now, one thing we have to be careful about rational equations, we want to make sure any solutions we get are in the domain of all of the expressions. So if it made it so that you were dividing any of the expressions by 0, you wouldn't be allowed to do this. Here, the only place we have an x is in the denominator. It's just x, and we'd have x equals negative 2, so we wouldn't be dividing by 0 anywhere. Okay, let's look at this next one. X plus 6 over x equals 7. So we want the LCM. Remember, this is like x over 1, 7 over 1. So we want the LCM of 1, x, and 1. Well, that's just going to be x times 1, or x. So we have x over 1 plus 6 over x equals 7 over 1, and we want to multiply every term by x, or x over 1. So we're going to have x over 1 times x over 1 times x over 1. So when we do that multiplication here, x times x, we get x squared, plus here the x's cancel out, so we just have 6 equals, here we have 7x. So now you see we have this quadratic, and this is why we learned how to solve quadratics before coming to this section. So to solve a quadratic, we have many ways. You know, you can use the quadratic formula or complete the square, factoring, all those things. But the first thing we need to do is get everything on one side. So we're going to subtract 7x from both sides. I'm going to come up here and write this as x squared minus 7x plus 6 equals 0. Okay, now we could factor this as x minus 1 times x minus 6. Okay, again, you could use, if you're not sure how to factor it, you could use the quadratic formula. Now we would set each of these equal to 0. X minus 1 equals 0. X minus 6 equals 0. So we get x equals 1 or x equals 6. And again, we'd want to glance back at the beginning and just make sure that you'd never be dividing by 0, and here we aren't. Okay, let's look at one more here. We have 5 over x plus x over x plus 2 equals 6 over x squared plus 2x. Okay, so we need the least common multiple of x, x plus 2, and x squared plus 2x. Now first, let's go ahead and factor x squared plus 2x. If we pull out an x, we have x times x plus 2, which you'll notice is our other two factors. So x goes into x times x plus 2, x plus 2 goes into that, and obviously this whole thing is our last factor. So our least common multiple is going to be x times x plus 2. So we have 5 over x plus x over x plus 2 equals 6 over x squared plus 2x. And we are going to multiply through by x times x plus 2 over 1. Okay, so let's see what cancels out. So here the x's cancel out, and we're going to have 5 times x plus 2. Here the x plus 2's cancel out, so we get x times x, which is x squared. And here this whole denominator is x times x plus 2, so this cancels out, and we get 6. Okay? Now again, this is just going to be a linear, quadratic equation that you can solve. We'll distribute the 5, so 5x plus 10 plus x squared equals 6. Let's subtract 6 from both sides, which would give us 5x plus 4 plus x squared equals 0. And to help us solve it, let's put it in descending order. So x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. This is another one that's pretty easy to factor. So it factors as x plus 1, x plus 4. So we would get x equals -1 and x equals -4. And those would be our solutions. Okay, so the important thing when solving rational equations is to find your LCM and then multiply everything through by it.